Okay, so tonight's class and the next couple of weeks, we're going to be redoing some of the classes that I'll call fan favorites over the past couple of weeks. So tonight's class is on thoracic spine mobility, and next week's class will be the one that we did with opening up the legs and using the dog leash or yoga strap to get some stretches there. So that way we have them filmed and you can go back to return to some of these stretches later. But tonight's class is about thoracic spine mobility. So that's the area between our neck and our low back, that middle bra strap region area that tends to stay in one position for a long time and it really gets stuck. And so rather than moving within our rib cage and within our thoracic spine, we move in our cervical spine or in our low back, and that can cause issues throughout the body, not just in that T-spine area. So we're going to work to free that today. So first we'll get started. You'll actually come to find a wall. So you can leave your camera space for a while and get yourself situated on the wall so that you bring your feet at a 90-degree angle. Hopefully you can see me. Your feet are a 90-degree angle on the wall. And we're just settling in here. So the wall is going to give us some nice feedback to make sure that we can establish a neutral pelvis, but then also open up that thoracic spine area. So with your feet on the wall, press the feet into the wall and lift the hips up off of the floor. We're coming into a bridge pose here with the feet on the wall. And then interlace the fingers and point them straight up towards the ceiling. So the arms are straight. And what I want you to do here is imagine doming that upper back. So as if someone was punching your sternum through to your back, you're doming and really pressing that T-spine area between the shoulder blades into the floor. And then just kind of release back down to neutral. And then do that again. Dome the other upper back, press it into the floor. Arms will lift up more towards the ceiling and then release. And we'll do that one more time. Dome the upper back, press it into the floor and release. You can bring your arms down by your side and cross the right ankle over the left. So we're in a figure 4 one-legged chair with the wall. And then slowly lower all the way back down to the floor and then press into the wall, hips lift up. So we're just doing a one-legged bridge with this left leg on the wall, lifting and lowering the hips up. So this little mini series on the wall is also great for any low back pain or issues that you've been having. Sciatic nerve pain can help free up some of the tissue there and also get our glutes firing as they should. After this next one, you'll replace that right foot, put it back on the wall, and cross the left ankle over the right, coming to a figure 4 on the left side. Press the right foot into the wall and lift the hips up and then back down. Lift them up and back down. Putting all your brain power into using that right glute to just lift and lower. Doesn't have to be your biggest lift up and down. Smaller is better. We want to move well rather than moving in big ranges of motion. After this last one, we'll put both feet back on the wall, lift the hips up, coming back into that bridge, and then tiptoe the spine down, one vertebra at a time, or try to. So you'll lower all the way to the floor, and then lift the hips up, and we'll do this just a couple times. So you're trying to step one vertebra at a time back down onto the floor, and it might not really be happening, or putting our brain power into trying to make it happen. Doing that brain mapping so that over time, our bodies will respond more readily to the signals we're trying to use. Last time, lifting up and slowly lowering back down. Good. Now reach the feet straight up towards the ceiling. We're staying where we are, close to the wall though. Interlace the fingers behind the head and draw the elbows in close to the temple. Take a big inhale through the nose And on an exhale, curl up, lifting up off the shoulder blades. We're coming into our first abdominal series. And then bring the left foot, left heel touches the wall. And left foot comes back up, right heel taps the wall. So we're just going to do these scissor kicks a little bit. Tapping right foot up to center, tapping left foot. And just making a nice fluid motion. So while giving us feedback, we want to really pull the abdominal muscles in towards midline and back down towards the floor. So don't let your stomach push up towards the ceiling. And then both feet come up to center, inhale and lower. Exhale, curl. And we'll do that again. We're just tapping one foot and then the other. Press the back of the skull into the hands. And again, focus on pulling the abdominal muscles in and down towards the floor. Both feet come back up to center, inhale and lower. One more time like this, exhale, curl, and tap left foot and right foot. So when we really focus on pulling the abs in and drawing them back down towards our spine, we're targeting the deep muscles, the transverse abdominals, as opposed to the chopped superficial muscles, those six-pack abs that might look nice, but aren't as deep and as strong and as important for core integration. Both feet come back up to center and lower. Draw both knees in towards the chest. And we'll just come into a thoracic spine twist here. So with the knees in as close as you can to the belly, just let both legs fall all the way over towards the left. Bring the left arm out to the left, and then peel the right arm open across the body, just coming into a gentle spinal twist. If this feels like too much on the right shoulder, you can bring the right arm up alongside the right ear. And just pause here for a few breaths. All right, and then we'll switch sides. So you can bring both knees back in towards the midline. And then let both knees fall over towards the right. Right arm out to the right, left arm peels open across the body, coming into that twist. Again, if your left shoulder feels vulnerable or unsupported, you could just bring that left arm alongside the left ear. Taking one more big breath in here and letting it out. And as you're ready, I think we've probably done enough abdominal work for tonight. So we'll come back around. You can come find your mat and we'll meet up in quadruped. Bringing the hands directly underneath the shoulders. The knees are directly underneath the hips. Keep the spine nice and long and keep the back of the neck in line with the rest of the spine. So don't let your head hang down towards the floor, but lift the front of the face up towards the back of the skull to keep that neck nice and long. Bring the left hand behind the head, and we'll do this open the book physical therapy move. So as you press into this right hand, you'll open and turn towards the left, but you're doing it by moving through the center axis of the spine, your rib cage and your thoracic spine. Come back down and do it again. Press into the right hand and you're opening up towards the left. So it's a smaller movement than you think, and just keep doing that a couple more times nice and slow. The movement is smaller than you think, it's harder than you think, and we're not leading with the arm. So it's really easy if I just kind of lift this left arm, left elbow up and let that lead the way. But I'm doing this by moving through the ribs and the thoracic spine. And we'll come back to a couple of these moves throughout our flow today. And then we'll switch sides, bring the left hand underneath the left shoulder, the right hand comes behind the right head. Again, press the back of the skull into the hand and then press into the left hand, open up towards the right. And just take that a couple more times. So you really have to use your core here to do this movement effectively. It takes a lot of work. Do that one more time. Press into the left hand. Come back down. And release both hands down to the floor. We'll come into dolphin next. Bring your forearms down to the floor. And then inner fingers, or you can bring the palms down onto the mat. So your elbows are pretty much directly underneath your shoulders, interlacing your hands for additional shoulder support. Just release the head here, tuck the toes underneath you, and lift the hips back up. So you're in kind of a down dog, but on your forearms instead of your hands. And maybe this is more than enough for you here, but we're going to come into a three-legged down dog if you're feeling up for it. Inhale, lift the left leg straight back and up to hip height. Then bend the left knee, and we'll just internally and externally rotate that left hip. So we're moving, opening the hip, and then bringing the left foot out to the left and internally rotating. But you'll notice that nothing else moves. So we're not allowing our hips to do the work. We're moving within that ball and socket joint of the hip. So the pelvis stays steady. Last time, bring that left foot down. We'll do the same thing on the right side. Bend that right knee, open the right hip, and then internally rotate it. Again, you're thinking about that hip joint, that ball in the socket, and you're just moving it around, getting some more synovial fluid moving in the joint. Last time, right foot comes down, both knees come down, sink the hips back to the heels, take a child's pose. Breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. And after this next one, we'll press into the palms, rise up, and make our way to the front of the mat. Make a little adjustment to our camera angle here. Okay, and we'll start moving. Coming into our sun style one, just to get us flowing. Inhale, reach the arms forward and up. Exhale, bend the knees, hinge at the hips, forward fold. Step that right foot back, lower the right knee to the floor, release the top of the foot to the floor, and we're coming in to a low lunge here. We're tucking that tailbone underneath us so that our pelvis is stacked directly underneath our shoulders. And then one at a time, you're just going to lift up that right arm towards the ceiling and then the left arm. So you're just kind of shimmying your ribs up. The shoulder can lift up towards the ear. Just kind of getting a little bit of movement in that rib cage since it gets stuck. Last time. And then both hands will lower to the floor. Step back for plank pose. Lower both knees all the way to the floor, and then lower the rest of the body. Take the fingertips off the mat so they're nice and wide, and the fingertips are down, the palms are off the floor, and we'll come into a cobra here, this wide position, really squeezing between the shoulder blades here, and then just release the top of the head towards the floor. Lower all the way back down to the floor. Bring the hands back underneath the shoulders and press up through plank. Coming back into downward facing dog. Then we step the right foot forward, lower the left knee, lower the top of the foot to the floor, arms lift up here. We're back in that low lunge. And we'll just do the same thing. You're just one at a time, reaching straight up, lifting that arm up a little higher, getting some more opening on the side seam of the body, loosening up the rib cage. Hands come to the floor, slide that back foot in, and forward fold. Inhale, rise to stand. Exhale, hinge at the hips, forward fold. Doing the same thing. This time we step the left foot back, lower the right knee, or I'm sorry, lower the left knee, top of the foot, arms lift up. Same thing, one at a time. Lift that arm up and really reach. Hands come to the floor, step back for plank. Lower both knees and lower all the way. Fingertips come wide off your mat, palms are off the floor. Lift up for a wide cobra here. You can allow the top of the skull to drop towards the floor. Release. Bring the hands underneath the shoulders. Press up and back, downward facing dog. Step the left foot forward, lower the right knee, top of the foot comes to the floor, and we do that exact same thing here. Reaching just a little bit up, not so much over, but it's kind of going to happen naturally. And again, we're trying to stack our shoulders directly over our pelvis. And both hands come to the floor. Slide the back foot in, forward fold. Inhale, rise to stand. Exhale, hinge at the hips, forward fold. Step the right foot back, lower the right knee. This time, keep the toes tucked as long as it feels okay on that right back knee. We'll interlace the fingers, bring them out in front of us. And just like we did in that bridge pose, dome back between the shoulder blades. So as if someone's punching you through the sternum to your back body, dome back there, and then release. And one more time, press back between the shoulder blades. Bring some tension and compression to the area to help open up the tissues, and release. Hands come to the floor, step back for plank. Lower both knees, lower all the way. Hands come wide, that wide fingertip cobra, top of the skull drops towards the floor. Release all the way back down, hands underneath the shoulders, press up and back, downward facing dog. Step the right foot forward, lower the left knee, but keep the toes tucked. And we do the same thing here. Interlace the fingers. See if you can interlace them the other way, the awkward way. And then same thing, dome back between the shoulder blades, pressing back and release. And press back between the shoulder blades and release. Hands come to the floor, slide the back foot in, forward fold. Rise to stand. One more time. Exhale, forward fold. Step the left foot back, lower the left knee, keep the toes tucked, interlace the fingers out in front of you, dome it back. Come back to neutral, dome it back. Come back to neutral. Hands come to the floor, step back for plank. Lower both knees, lower all the way. Fingertips come wide. Wide fingertip cobra, head drops to the floor. Squeeze between those shoulder blades. Lower all the way back down. Hands come underneath the shoulders. Press up and back, downward facing dog. Step the left foot forward. Lower the right knee. Keep the toes tucked. Interlace the fingers in front of you. Last time here, doming between the shoulder blades. And release. Press between the shoulder blades. And release. Hands come to the floor. The back foot in, forward fold. Inhale, rise to stand. Exhale, hands down by your side. Take a breath here. Make any adjustments that you need to. We'll have 2 sequences tonight, and then we will put both of them together and stream them as one nice long sequence. Coming back to the front of your mat as you're ready. Check in with your posture here. So we still want that back of the neck is nice and long. The top of the skull is on top of the shoulder blades, is directly on top of the hips, with our tailbone tucked, not so much like underneath you, but straight down, which for a lot of us is going to feel like it's tucked way, way underneath us because so many of us live kind of with our butt out in anterior tilt. So we want that tailbone tucked down just enough so we feel the glutes starting to work here. Inhale, reach the arms forward and up. Exhale, hinge at the hips, forward fold. Step the right foot back. We're starting the same way. Lower the right knee, toes stay tucked, arms reach up here. Make a fist with that left hand and bring that fist to the top of the right glute. Then reach up even higher with the right hand and just take a side bend over to the right. We're going to bring the forearms down to the floor, coming into dolphin pose, just like we did at the beginning of class. Reach that left leg straight back and up, bend the left knee, internally and externally rotate that left hip here. We won't be here long. Bring the left foot down to the floor, lower the knees to the floor, come into your quadruped. Coming back into that open the book move, so bring the left hand behind the head, press into the right hand, and open up towards the left. And come back down. We'll take that 3 more times. Take your time with it. Last time. Really pressing into that right hand. And release. Come to stand on your knees. Bring the arms out into a goalpost. And we'll just take some rotation side to side. When our T-spine area is tight, we also lose some rotation, or when we stop rotating, the T-spine gets tight. It's all connected. So we're just bringing up some of that here. And it feels nice. Good. Hands come down to the floor, tuck the toes, and come back into downward facing dog. From here, we're just going to one time ripple forward into plank. And as you do, really focus on lifting up between the shoulder blades. So kind of that wave-like action. Let's do that one more time, actually. Come back into a downward facing dog. And then ripple forward, lifting up between the shoulder blades as you make your way to plank. You can lower the knees or not, and lower all the way to the floor. Fingertips come out wide, same cobra we've been doing. And release. Hands come underneath the shoulders, press up and back, downward facing dog. Left leg lifts, straight back and up. We're in a 3-legged down dog. Bend that left knee, and just like you were doing in dolphin, take some internal and external rotations of that left thigh bone. So you're moving, it's initiating from the hip joint. And then this last time, hold an internal rotation so the knee is in, the foot is out, and start to shift your way forward, bringing that left knee down onto the floor. And we're going to come into like a gate pose. So you'll keep the left hand on the floor and just open up towards the right with the right elbow drawing up towards the ceiling and the right palm facing away from us. So this is kind of like a modified side plank position, but we're really focusing on uncorking that right side body and the right shoulder. And then the right hand comes back down onto the floor. Turn so that your body is facing towards the mat. Step onto those right toes and just step the left foot forward underneath you. And then shift forward, coming into a standing L shape here. So I'm trying to keep a nice long spine. My fingertips are on the floor. You can have a bend in that left knee. And we're just thinking of getting as much length from the crown of the head to that back right heel as we can. And then both feet meet at the front of your mat and forward fold. Inhale, rise to stand, reach up nice and tall. Second side, exhale, forward fold. Step back with the left leg, lower the left knee, top of the toes stay tucked. You'll bring the right hand and make a fist, bring it to the top of the left glute, reach the left arm up, and then take a side bend over to the right. You can even release the right ear towards the right shoulder here and give the neck a nice little stretch. Come back through center. We'll bring the forearms down to the floor. We're coming into a dolphin pose. Right leg lifts, bend the right knee, internally and externally rotate. If you're not feeling dolphin tonight, you can always come into downward facing dog or three-legged down dog. It's a nice option. But this is a really great shoulder strengthener. And then the right foot comes back down, lower both knees to the floor, press into the palms. We're coming into that open the book move. Left hand stays planted underneath the left shoulder. The right hand comes behind the head. Back of the skull is pressing into that right hand, and we open up towards the right. Doing that 3 more times. Take it nice and slow. You're not moving from the right elbow. That's just following the motion from that T-spine and the rest of the core moving, not leading the way. Last time. And release. Come to stand on your knees, goalpost the arms. Again, focus on that tailbone being tucked straight underneath you as you rotate side to side. Pelvis is directly under your shoulders. Bring both hands back down to the floor. Same dog. Time we'll just ripple forward into plank, focusing on that wave-like action, pressing between the shoulder blades as you make your way to plank. And you can lower all the way or lower the knees and lower all the way. Cobra. We'll stick with that for the rest of class. You can come into a regular cobra or something. Make the shoulders, come back into downward facing dog. Bend the right knee and externally rotate that right hip. Ball and socket joint, and the rest of the leg is following what you're doing. With the knee in and the foot out, and then shift forward, bring that right knee down to the floor. Toes just come behind you, and we'll come into that gate pose. So you're just, it's kind of like a modified side plank, but I'm really focusing on lifting and uncorking this left arm here. Just release this right ear to the right shoulder. The front of your mat, and as you do, step onto those left toes, and then just step that right foot underneath you. Standing split on the right leg. Needs to be hips down. Maybe you have your whole palm on the floor. That's great, but if you start to round in the upper back, then you want to lift up a little bit higher. So I want a nice long spine. I'm just focusing on making length. And coming into our second sequence. Dogs. I'm going to skip our sun salutations tonight. Back to meet the feet. Coming into a happy squat. So your fingertips are down on the floor and you're just sitting the butt back. The whole foot is on the floor. So my heels are down, my toes are down. And I'm just reaching back as if there was a chair behind me. Again, still trying to keep some length in the spine. Here. Or tiptoes. Focusing on keeping the weight on top of the ball of the foot. So try to avoid letting your ankles
sickle out, or I don't think you're really going to cave in. I think it's more natural to sickle out, but I want to keep my weight over, or you can keep them on your hips for a little bit more support. We'll step the right foot forward. Lower the right heel, lift the left knee up towards the chest. Check in with your posture. Top of the skull is still over the shoulders, is still over the pelvis. Forward, coming into an airplane. Again, you can keep your hands on your hips. That feels good. Into a prayer position here, or you can come back into that goal post. Into the chest. Right foot. As you do, the left toes come down towards the floor, and we're coming into a prayer twisted crescent. So I bring the left elbow on top of the right thigh, hitting lengthen my spine. Getting leverage and really getting that left outside of the right thigh and really twisting here. Elbow on top of the right thigh, the rotation. And as you do, we'll just come into some side lunges. So one, you can bring the hands to the floor, you can bring the hands to the shins or an ankle, whatever feels good. Half moon on the right leg. So the right toes face the front of the mat. The right fingertips come out in front of us and maybe a little bit off to the right. Left leg lifts up. Left arm lifts up. Back. Left foot behind me. Other two on the right leg. First, reach straight back and up. Again. Extended side angle. Follow. That left hand down to the floor. Square off the hips so that they're both facing forward. Lower that left knee to the floor. And we'll come into a lizard-like pose here. Planted. And maybe you reach back as you start to twist the torso towards the right. Maybe that left foot reaches up and you grab the left foot with the right hand. If that starts to feel like way too much on, really, especially that left side, then you just release the foot back down and you can just bring that right hand. Yeah. Dog, we've got one more side. Walk the hands back towards the feet, coming into that happy squat, really sitting the butt so long, so you're getting a lot of length in that back body. You can let the head hang here. Toes, step the left foot forward. Bring the right knee in towards the chest, pelvis. This prayer, if that feels okay, and we'll sit it back for more than you're finding it. Do this a couple more times. That's okay. And then allowing the right toes to come to the floor and finding your prayer twisted crescent on the left side. The top of the right elbow, the right elbow comes to the top of the left thigh. We're trying to twist using core muscles and positioning here. I'm coming into side lunges, facing the opposite side of your mat. That feels good. Forward and back. We don't move. We're coming into half moon here on the left leg. You'll reach those left fingertips out in front of you, slightly off to the left. The right foot lifts up, the right arm lifts up, and you're in a half moon here. Foot, right toes down behind you, warrior two on the right leg. The left thigh. Or maybe you're just moving with your feels good. Back to reverse. Right hand down onto the floor, right hand underneath the right shoulder, lower the right knee to the floor. We're coming back into that lizard-like pose. So you can either just bring the left hand to the top of the sacrum and just open the chest towards the left, or right knee and top of the foot with the left. My hips and my pelvis sink towards the floor. I'm still staying lifted and stretch even when you're lifted. And foot and step the right foot to meet the left. Stand. Side. Take any adjustments you need to. If you need to grab a drink, whatever. I do both of those sequences, put them together. Hands down by your side. Stand up nice and tall. Inhale, reach both arms forward and up. And keep the toes tucked. Coming into a dolphin here. The left leg reaches straight back and up. Bend the left knee. Close. Hands behind the skull. Press into that left hand, and we do that open the book move. Nothing in your pelvis is moving. The elbow is not leading the way. This is all coming from the core. Breathe. We'll skip our plank move here. Bend the left knee. Internally and externally rotate the hip here. Compared to your dolphin. And here. In, left foot out. Shifting it forward, bring the left knee to the floor. Keep the left hand planted and come into that gate pose. The right elbow reaches up towards the ceiling. Uncork that right shoulder and the right side body. The palm faces away from you, and just let that left ear fall towards the left shoulder. Floor, turn towards the front of your mat. Step onto those right toes and then step that left foot underneath you. Rise to stand here. Bringing the right knee into the chest. Prayer. And take a twist towards right elbow to the top of the right thigh here. Towards the right. Maybe adding a little right toes to find the floor, and we're coming into that prayer twisted crescent here. Side lunges. One hand to the floor and reach the other up towards the ceiling. Maybe not. Hands back towards the front. And on that left leg, reach those left fingertips out in front of you and just slightly off to the left. Right arm to come back down to the floor, almost as if you were going to do a cartwheel here. You can do a cartwheel, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to use this to get more of an opening on that right side seam of the body. Find the floor, come to stand, warrior two. Then left forearm to left thigh. Right arm comes alongside the right ear. Down to the front, this time just step that right foot in to meet the left. We've got one more side to do. Inhale, rise to stand. Keep the toes tucked. With the right hand, bring it to the left glute and take a side bend over towards the right. The right leg lifted, bend the right knee, internally and externally rotate that right hip. We're coming into that open the book move. The right hand stays planted, left hand comes behind the head. On hour of a week. We rise up on the knees and just turn side to side. The spine area. How does it feel compared to the beginning of class? You just feel a little bit more freedom, a little bit more movement than maybe you had. Downward facing dog, toes tucked. Right leg lifts straight back and up. Bend the right knee. Internally and externally rotate the right hip. And the right foot out in internal rotation. Shift forward. The right knee comes to the floor. Open up towards the left in that gate pose. Left elbow reaches up towards the ceiling. Ear to drop towards the right shoulder. I just got a lovely crack in my neck. Left toes, bring that right foot to the floor, shift into your into the chest, hands in front of the heart in prayer, twist towards the left. Come into a twist here, bringing the left elbow to the top of the right thigh. Is your pelvis still neutral? Is your core still engaged? Those left toes down to the floor, coming into a prayer twisted crescent here. Coming into side lunges on the left. half moon on that right leg, up towards the ceiling, or you can let it come down as if you're going to cartwheel out of this, and just really reach those left fingertips to the floor to feel that opening along the left side seam of the body. Warrior two on the right leg. Variation, right forearm to the right thigh. Off the floor, step the left foot to meet the right, pause in a forward fold. Oh, we've made it. Really down to the floor. We're going to do one stretch before we close things off. So we'll do a nice shoulder, rib cage, thoracic spine stretch. So all fours. This time reach the right arm straight up towards the ceiling, and then we'll kind of allow that to arm and the left leg, and back up. That's what I was looking for. We're going to thread that right arm through and back up. Arm through and come all the way down. You can bring the side of the head to the floor. Fingertips up above here. Here where you can leverage and really just lean into that right shoulder blade. Degree that feels okay in your body. To the left palm and reach that right arm back up towards the ceiling. Side, so reach the left arm. This time you can lower all the way down onto that left shoulder, on the left side of the head. I just lean into the left shoulder blade here. Into our Shavasana. Final posture feels good. We'll just be here for a minute. Maybe you'd rather sit all the way into that corpse pose with your legs extended, arms extended, knees can be bent.